no power. They have shut off the power to this area. So she's in her home, but has no. And we do understand that PG&E has a spokesperson who has arrived here on the scene, and we're expecting an update shortly. We also understand from the fire crews that they are going to be talking with us as well. But just to recap for people who are joining us, 2 properties that were impacted, one house that we saw on that doorbell camera from across the street that they shared with us, the actual explosion of that house. And then there were 2 properties, they said, the assistant chief said 3 buildings on those 2 properties were impacted, 2 that appear to be residents and one that was some sort of warehouse in the back of one of the lots. That was where they were concentrating most of their efforts at fire suppression until just a short while ago, when they now have been packing things up. So it looks like there has been some significant progress and development here, but certainly there's a lot of concern about the 6 people who were transported to the hospital. We talked to one next door neighbor who said they saw a woman and her child who were among those, and then the people across the street who said they saw a man who was being worked on who had some significant injuries, and he also was transported among the 6. Also 2 people they believe who were with maybe the construction crew that had been here. PG&E did tell us within the hour that it appears they might have hit a gas line. So that is what's happening here. We're going to send it back to you and then bring you the latest once the PG&E spokesperson comes.
And that is what we're waiting for. That is the update that is to come that will help fill in some of the gaps and answer some of the questions that we have. Janet Katsuyama, thank you so much for your reporting all morning and all afternoon long. We know you'll still stay on the scene and gather more information for us. PG&E is the agency really that we haven't directly heard from. Of course, they gave us a little bit of the timeline of how the explosion happened, how the gas leak started, and what role they played. But we're still waiting to hear kind of what they've been doing since.
We understand that the PG&E spokesperson is on the scene, and so we're hoping to hear from them. We'll have extended coverage. It's going to be continuing here in just a moment. I want to point out the PG&E crews, as they're going up the poles, you saw that picture earlier, checking all of those lines, and hopefully we'll get an understanding of what all that means. All right, our coverage will continue over on KTVU.com and Fox Local as well. We're going to return to our regular programming here on KTVU Channel 2. Thank you for joining us. All right, you're watching continuing coverage of the explosion here on Fox Local and KTVU. An explosion that happened in Hayward, and you could see the scene here on Llewellyn. You saw the BART pass by just a moment ago. This is off of 238 and Llewellyn, right by Mission Boulevard and Llewellyn, not too far from the Jack in the Box, if you know the area, or the exit from 238 onto Llewellyn. This is that one neighborhood right there on the street.
I'll tell you
this
what,
explosion
it looks
happened
like
at 9:35, 9:38 this morning. A gas leak triggering this explosion in the area. Here is video taken from a home right across the street from where the blast happened. You can hear the blast in the background and see all that rubble shoot into the sky. And just a few minutes after this, you're going to see flames shooting up from the wreckage of this house fire. This started when PG&E said a third-party contract crew was working in this area. They called PG&E to report that they had damaged a gas line, so PG&E came out to cap that gas line. That happened at about 9:25 or so, but then at about 9:35, 9:37, somewhere in that neighborhood, that's when this explosion happened. And you could see, if you look closely at this video here, there's a PG&E truck on the front lawn of the house where this video was taken. There's a person standing behind that truck. You're going to see that person duck behind the truck. And then if you look to the left of your screen, you see someone running from the scene of that blast had just happened. As you can see, there was construction equipment in this neighborhood when this happened, and that is because there has been a long-going construction project. I am told by people who live in this area for at least 2 years here, but I can tell you that according to Public Works, there was a road improvements project that was stretching all the way from Mission Boulevard and Llewellyn all the way to Meagland Avenue, which is just down the street. You might have seen a moment ago that BART train going across. It was about that area. That's where this improvement project was happening. So they were widening the road, putting pedestrian crossings in, and they were going to install some trees as well, but they were still in the early phases of this. So but we have heard stories from neighbors who were not happy about the way this construction project had been going and how it was impacting their lives as well.
Yeah, and if you're just now joining us, you're just now learning the details of all this. Andre mentioned it's been going on since about 9:30 this morning. These crews have been here since about 9:30 this morning, several hours now, putting out fires, putting out flames, making sure that the wires are no longer electrified, trying to make sure essentially that the whole area is safe for anyone nearby, but especially for those first responders that are going in and starting an investigation and trying to clean up some of the mess left behind. I'm James Torres here, joined by Andre Sr. We've been bringing you this coverage since it broke about 10 o'clock earlier this morning. You can see the live pictures on the left side of your screen here. You see the fire department from the Alameda County Fire Department, firefighters there, about 75 personnel on the scene who have been there since the morning, trying to make sure this situation is safe. They've evacuated pretty much the entire block here, an entire block's worth of homes of people who live nearby this explosion. We know 6 people have been taken to the hospital. At least 2 different properties had some major damage as a result of the explosion and the fire after the explosion. That fire starting just a few minutes after you saw that video, started bursting from the smoke there. People across the street say that they felt it, that their windows were broken in, that people were knocked off their feet as a result of the blast. People thought that it sounded like an earthquake, felt like an earthquake. One woman said it sounded like a bomb had gone off. So a really extreme kind of commotion that happened just outside the front doors of people who live here. And as you mentioned, Andre, as you touched on a little bit, people were pretty upset that this construction project had been going on for as long as it had been. They brought up a number of different reasons why. But now there was one woman in particular who said that she was launching a petition, might even gone as far as launch a lawsuit as well, because they say that the people who are responsible for this construction were not hearing the concerns of the community and people who live by there. They were supposed to have these town halls and these hearings. She claims that that never happened. And now many of these people are even more frustrated, as you can imagine, after this explosion than they were when it was just a construction project.
You know, not only have we been watching that explosion video from that Nest camera from across the street very closely, still have viewers, and we did have a viewer call in just a short time ago because we were trying to make sense of the person that was running away from the house on the left-hand side of the screen. One viewer says it appeared to him this person that ran may have been sitting in the excavator, which is that machine with the that you can see there in front of that house, and they appear to get hit in the head by a falling part of the roof as they were trying to get away in this video. All right, so just to recap here, this mandatory evacuation continues this afternoon. Devin Truby, she has been following the weather impacts and how this could impact the area. Devin, you were telling me about an update you got just a moment ago.
Yeah, Andre, we've been tracking the air quality sensors in the area, and 2 of them have gone ahead and changed. I also want to talk about the winds. For people who live nearby are wondering if they're going to be impacted by the smoke or also the natural gas. As we know, natural gas is majority made up of methane, so that would be the concern. If we can go ahead and maybe look at the wind, if we would like, right now only about a breeze of about 3 to 5 miles per hour, which is why we're not anticipating pretty much all the smoke is gone from the area by now, but it shouldn't be moving too much into the other areas. It didn't impact visibility in terms of the freeway. This has also been very essential for the firefight because then without all the wind, then you don't have to worry about it the flames spreading. Now, the wind will pick up a little later in the day. We're expecting 8 to 12 miles per hour, but the scene looking very clear right now. Talking about air quality, we do have sensors around the area of where this happened. And within the last area, 2 of them have changed. So green, obviously representing good. Yellow is for moderate air quality. For the region, we did start today with moderate air quality. So that would be for our groups that are sensitive. So adults and older children, they might be struggling already. Now we've seen 2 of the sensors have changed over from green to yellow this morning, one down in the Hayward area and one kind of above and off the Ashland neighborhood. So a few changes to the air quality so far is what we've been experiencing this day. If you are a part of the sensitive group, older adults, children, perhaps have a previous condition like asthma, an N95 mask would be a good solution for this type of situation. With debris like this and with the natural gas, it can be very hard to see in the air. That would be fine. Particulate matter. That is why a mask is always a great recommendation. If you're in the area feeling any shortness of breath, tightness, always a good idea. Reach out to those emergency crews. They have masks available on their rigs. They also have oxygen if anyone is feeling that tightness. We're going to take it back to the desk now as we have Christina and Alex here to join us.
All right, Devin, thank you. We do want to give a thank you to both Andre Senior and James Torres, who were here for the last 2 hours broadcasting live on this breaking news in Hayward, an explosion and fire that has injured 6 people. I am Christina Rendon. I'm joined with Alex Savage here, and we are broadcasting on Fox Local. When we see these images from Sky Fox, just want to take a look at all of the damage and the impact that it has had on this neighborhood in Hayward. You can see all of the damage and debris that has been left behind, cars under rubble as well. I even saw a car that had been charred and was stuck under the rubble as well, because it was right near that ignition site from the home. You can see also the windows broken out from this vehicle. So extensive damage from this one explosion at a home that rippled across to the neighboring homes. You can see part of a roof there on another car, just extensive damage. This is something that is going to be taking likely all day and into the coming days to kind of sort out and figure out exactly what happened here. This all began around 7:30 this morning when crews were working in the area. This was a third-party crew working for PG&E when they hit a gas line at around 7:35 this morning. And they did immediately go into remediating that work and trying to fix what they had done. They did say that they did repair the line in the 8 o'clock hour, but then around 9:30, that explosion happened unexpectedly as those crews were working. And it was really a shock to them as they were taken off guard by the sheer impact of this explosion. You can see here in this Nest video, if you just take a look, the explosion happening here on the 800 block of Llewellyn.
Yeah, stunning images there from that doorbell camera. And from those images, you can see that there were, in fact, construction crews already there at that scene when the blast took place. And what we really are looking to learn more about from PG&E is really the timeline of how this all unfolded. As you said, early this morning at 7:30, you have this outside construction crew that struck a gas line, ruptured that line. It seemed as though repairs had been made from the reports we're getting. And then the question is, what happened after that? It appears as though work was continuing in that area here. And then suddenly, obviously out of nowhere, this blast happened here that just leveled that one home and obviously damaged a second property right next door and caused that massive fire here, and again sent 6 people to the hospital. The other outstanding question here is the severity of the injuries for those people who were taken to the hospital. Do we have a sense of whether they were all neighbors in that community who were injured in the fire and the blast, or if some of them may have been workers?
I believe some of them are workers. Okay. In fact, you can see here in this video, there was somebody sitting in that construction crane. They were jolted by the explosion itself, and the man tries to get out of that construction unit, and part of the roof fell on top of him. We did see that in that video. There was another worker nearby who tried to run off and get away from the blast. So we do know it likely some of the workers were injured. Now, as far as the people nearby, that's still a question of, are these all 6 people who were workers, crews, or are they people who live in the neighborhood as well? Yeah. One person who has been out there all morning long for us is KTVU's Jana Katsuyama. We're going to go right back out to her live now to explain what she's seeing on the ground and what exactly is happening in the area that she's in. Jana.
Hi there. So one of the things I wanted to show you is this picture behind me. This is the exit for 238 onto East Llewellyn, and you can see that they have it just completely blocked with emergency vehicles. That's because they had to stage some of the county fire vehicles there. One of the things that we have been seeing changing in the past 10, 15 minutes is the ambulances have now pulled back. A lot of the fire vehicles have now put their ladders down, pulled in their hoses, and we are now seeing PG&E trucks come in. So just in the past 15 minutes, I've seen at least 2 large PG&E vehicles come.
PG&E must be their gas company out there. Well, yeah, you might as well stick around their fire department just in case that jolt didn't bust other. And you should be letting people know in that area if you smell any gas to report it. But yeah, what's the problem, Debbie, in chat? You can't hear me when I'm talking, the video's playing? I think I have a spirit or a ghost or something I picked up from somewhere. Probably one of the places I went to today in town here. But when that's huge, yeah, it was pretty huge, Debbie. Explosion. Tore everything out. Debbie said, oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But, you know, if you have gas, natural gas, or even propane, you always gotta keep up on it and check, you know, make sure your lines are not rotted away or splitting or anything. Because natural gas, you know, you could have an explosion. And as you see, it tore everything apart. Pretty much ain't no house there. But we're not sure if they hit it. You know, they were doing work in that area, so they might have hit it. I think they said they did hit it, and they sent the gas company out there to fix it. And then at 9:30, it exploded. So, all right, folks, let's watch a little bit more of this. We'll try and get 30 minutes out of this video, and we'll be back to if they found out, you know, if anybody survived. I think they said 6 people went to the hospital. Thank you for letting me know.
Coming in and staging just outside this area. We do understand that a public information officer from PG&E is here on scene and is collecting information, and we're expecting something shortly from them. But a while ago, when we talked to you last, there were people working on the power lines. We are now also hearing the sound of construction jackhammers. There are some people who are kind of going in surrounding that area. There is still a smell of smoke here in the air, but we aren't seeing the same kind of heavy smoke coming in from the site itself. Again, 2 properties, 3 buildings that the assistant fire chief says have been damaged. And we are also expecting an update from the assistant fire chief when PG&E arrives. So they're going to give us an update as to what they're.
All right, so there's been changes. 3 houses were involved. We thought originally just 2, but now they're saying 3 houses were damaged. And I believe it was a pretty big explosion.
You're seeing now that area again, once they had that fire suppressed, they said they were actually going to try and go in and start the investigation phase of this. So that is something that we're hoping to learn as to what the cause was, what the source was of this fire, whether it was from outside, with the construction project that's been going on here, or if it was something else that was separate internal to the property. So that's what we have right now at the scene, just to give you a little bit of an update.
And Jana, you talked about the fact that they have the fire finally under control here after several hours. And I remember hearing from authorities that the next phase was going to be a search of that property here. With that being said, are there any reports, anyone in the neighborhood talking about anyone who is unaccounted for?
At this point, we haven't. We've been seeing a lot of people kind of coming in. I just spoke with Deborah, who lives next door. Her sister rushed in. She tells me that her house she's been told by the fire crews that it is uninhabitable. So they're going to have to find a place to stay overnight. We've also heard from somebody who lives on the other side of the property that exploded. We haven't heard yet what their status is, but this is having an impact, Alex, throughout the whole neighborhood, not just those 2 homes that were involved in the fire.
And do you get the sense that people will likely be let back in at any point today, or are they all being kept back? And has the perimeter been growing and expanding, and you yourself getting pushed back as the morning and afternoon progresses?
They have kept the line here for us, for all of the media standing right here. At least at this point, we do know that there are some people who are not able to stay in their homes. And so we haven't heard anything yet about what accommodations are going to be made for them. We did talk to that Deborah who was allowed, earlier when we were doing the interview, she said she had medications that she had to get from out of there. She said that she ended up being able to go back inside to get those medications. So that was something, obviously, a lot of stress here for people who live in this area. So that was one, way that they were able to kind of at least get some materials. But she's still here in her bathrobe. So, a lot of people just had to leave at the time of the fire and then now are just trying to figure out what they can do.
Yeah. Jana, let me ask you quickly, too, about the scene that you showed us behind you a moment ago, the off-ramp to Llewellyn Boulevard from 238, and you showed us all those fire trucks that were staged right there. Do we have a sense about sort of what their role is going to be, just kind of overhaul of this fire moving forward?
It's a little bit unclear right now. I think they are just in a holding pattern until PG&E comes, because I think they're really relying on PG&E to kind of do an assessment of this situation to be able to find out if they still need that support from the county fire resources, or if it means that they need to have, a little bit more room cleared. But, as you mentioned right there, you can see that they have that staging area. They say that, it'll probably be until PG&E comes, until they give that assessment, before they'll be able to have an all clear of some of these apparatus that are out here.
That makes sense.
Really quick before I let you go, I do want to ask you about the construction that was happening in the area, because we've heard all morning that this was a controversial project. A lot of neighbors in that area were upset with the ongoing construction that had been taking place.
All right, there you go, pretty much, folks. So, you know what? My question is are they going to walk that whole neighborhood there and test each house to make sure nothing, was rattled, any other gas pipes broke, anything, Are they going to take an assessment of the main line coming in that's feeding that street? Are they going to, what extent are they going to go through this? Because just the littlest gas leak with natural gas, it'll build up underneath ground. And you'll smell it a little bit, but you won't think anything of it. Next thing you know, boom, the whole place goes up. It's a natural gas is a form of heat, cooking. A lot of people have it. A lot of people have switched over to electricity. Believe it or not, electric heaters, wall heaters or whatever, and electric stoves, and done away with their natural gas lines. So, yeah, am I saying do that? No, but just keep up, keep up on your, and your town and city should keep up on the main gas lines and always testing them, x-raying and doing everything to make sure, doing air qualities to make sure, there's no gas in the air. But Debbie says Red Cross will probably help. Yeah, well, Red Cross probably will help. That's intermittent. Yeah. Yeah, it's nervy, but a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people do switch over to electric, and a lot of people still use gas. That's why it smells, when you smell that smell, like rotten eggs or whatever, they put that in there so humans can smell it. Right? Natural gas don't have that kind of smell. They put that in there. It's like propane too. They put smell into it, a chemical into it that makes it smell so they can smell it. And propane is dangerous too, because propane is a gas that is a low-lying gas. It's heavier than air, so it stays real low to the ground, and it almost looks like a foggy day. but real low to the ground. It's really crazy if you look at some of the propane footage of tanks that have leaked for a long time, and people were complaining, why does it look like a fog, like a foot, 2 foot off of the ground? It just, you couldn't see nothing, and it was actually propane. And that whole town went up, I think. So it's very crazy. If you smell that, if you smell it, report it. Report it to your gas area or fire department. Don't light a match. Don't do anything. But that's, my mother has had gas, I think. And she's one of them people, she smells a fart and she thinks it's a gas leak. Really, really up to date with her. All the fittings need to be changed after so long. My grandfather was like that too. I smell gas. He'd go through everything. I don't know. People are funny that way, and it's good though, because all it takes is a little leak of gas, and you'll have problems. So, but it is a part of our fuel system to heat and cook. So you're probably not going to be able to get rid of it. Most of them houses might have already switched over to electricity. And some of them, a couple of them, might still be on gas. But there's a gas line that feeds that whole subdivision. So if everybody went electric, you're still going to have that gas line, the main gas line underground, feeding all that. So that could break. Something happened. I better shut up because I'm getting death threats for talking about what we can do to be safe. All right, we're almost at 30 minutes. Let me play a little bit more of this.
For the past few months, curious what you've heard from neighbors there on the scene about what had been taking place.
We can actually kind of pan over and you can see this trench that's on the side of Llewellyn Road. It goes for blocks. And, I think some of them were really concerned. They didn't want this to happen. There had been some discussion about when it rained, some of the water flooding these. So they had come back to do additional work. And from what the residents are telling me, they're very upset. I think we had mentioned before, some of them had even gone to the point of trying to file lawsuits against the government to try and stop this. But one of the things that they are concerned about now going forward is if there is any connection between this explosion and the fire and what this construction project is, they are going to want a lot of answers, a lot of reassurance from the government if this project is going to continue, because you can see that they are still quite a ways away from completing this project. There's still a lot of work to be done. And we do understand that there were 2 people who were possibly involved with construction who are among those 6 who were taken to the hospital.
Okay. Janet Katsuyama reporting live for us there on the scene. Janet, thank you so much. We'll let you keep gathering.
Debbie, I was going to make a funny right now about a YouTube channel, Ricky and the Boss. Was Ricky out there on that job? I don't know if you guys watch them, Ricky and the Boss. Hilarious. That dude is hilarious. I hope Ricky wasn't out there on that job. Or Manuel. I don't know who's their helper that's Hispanic and don't have a green card. Manuel or Jose or something like that, or Juan. Well, there you go, folks. Let's listen to a little bit more. We found out that the residents that live there are very upset at this, so much so they wanted to sue the government to stop this project. Let's get back to it.
Gathering some information and check back in with you as soon as PG&E comes up to the podium for that press conference. You can see there, Alex, in her video, it looked like freshly poured concrete. So there was active construction going on there. And in our aerial videos from Skyfox 2, there was a crane. Jan had mentioned she heard digging and the sound of drilling. There was a crane at the property right outside of where that explosion happened. It looked like it was getting ready to drill into that freshly poured concrete, that sidewalk there. And you can see them still working and appearing to do some type of work in that area where all of this has been blocked off because of the explosion. Jana was live for us right near the Highway 238 interchange, or not interchange, but the on and off ramps, I should say. Right. California Highway Patrol had to shut those down between East 14th and Llewellyn Boulevard, and as well from Mission to Paradise Boulevards. As far as we know, those areas still do remain closed off. She mentioned 6 people injured. It's unclear what their statuses are, but we do know that all 6 were taken to local hospitals, and at least 2 people were seen being put on stretchers and put into ambulances and taken away from that scene. Smoke, of course, billowing into the sky when this happened for a very long time, and then an ensuing fire that followed from that explosion. So you can imagine how difficult it's going to be for crews to go in there, firefighters to kind of comb through that entire property and make sure they didn't miss anything and make sure they didn't miss anyone if there are, in fact, any other additional victims or survivors.
Yeah. And I think Jana made a really important point here about just sort of the broad impact.
Yes, Debbie, if you can, pray and hope that Ricky wasn't on that job at that time. Also pray for the people, the 6 people that were taken to the hospital, but mainly pray that Ricky and the boss wasn't on that job. Good God. It just took out 3 homes. 3 homes, one house, or one little dig hole that hit a gas line or whatever, took out 3 homes and broke windows across the street and around there. So, yeah, very dangerous.
Of this explosion and the resulting fire here, because obviously when you see that doorbell camera, the blast happens at a single property, but just the force from that explosion, you can just see from those aerial shots, it obviously caused damage in a number of surrounding homes and people whose homes may be damaged to the point where they're uninhabitable, as Jana alluded to. This means this is a long-term disaster, for lack of a better term, for those folks. If they can't stay in their homes, they're obviously going to need a place to stay for quite some time. So let's bring in Crystal Bailey. She's also on the ground here near Hayward at the scene of this explosion.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We might be back later on tonight with more information as it comes out. I think we got the lowdown pretty much of what happened there. There was a construction site that was doing work in that area. They struck a pipe. They called the gas company to come out. The gas company came out there, fixed it, and then after they left or whatever, at 9:30, it exploded. Now, whether someone hit it somewhere else or something didn't work out right or whatever, maybe it wasn't even the gas line that exploded. Maybe it was something else that they hit or something. You know, we don't know. They'll let us know. That's all been coming out. I want to thank Debbie Fox for showing up. I want to thank Miss ATS News for showing up. Can you ladies hear me? Nah, it don't matter. We're pretty much over with this one. I'm sure we'll be seeing this episode on Ricky and the Boss, which, folks, make sure you go over and check out Ricky and the Boss, also on Facebook. Great channel, hilarious stuff. But we're praying that this wasn't one of their jobs. God bless everyone. Have a great day. Praying for the people that were taken to the hospital. So far, there's no death. Only 6 people taken to the hospital. No reports of any deaths yet. So that's good. Thank God for that. And we'll be back later.